Hi guys, are you ready to read Dostoevsky in the original? If you are, welcome to the only channel, as far as I know, that is dedicated to reading Russian classics in the original. My name is Arik, and in this lesson I'm gonna be your tutor, your coach into understanding Russian classics. So please click on the link below to open this original piece of literature. We are reading Fyodor Dostoevsky, Маленький, герой. And we are in this village near Moscow, and the narrator of the story is an 11-year-old boy who is experiencing a very strange inner feelings toward a beautiful blonde woman who is married, who's been married for 5 years. We got to know about that the last time. And he doesn't know what to do with all those feelings, emotions, and bodily sensations. Now, I'll show you now where we stopped the last time. Meanwhile, just open the piece of literature so you have it on your screen, unless you want to remain with me here and just follow me. But you will just have it in better quality if you open it on your screen. Just a second. So look guys, our last sentence the last time was the following. Смех не сходил с ее губ. Please find it, because we are going to read it again, just to have a little warm-up. And after that, we're going to continue. It's going to be very interesting. Are you ready? Смех не сходил с ее губ, свежих, как свежа утренняя роза, только что успевшая раскрыть с первым лучом солнца свою алую ароматную почку, на которой еще не обсохли холодные, крупные капли росы. If you want to get detailed explanation, please watch the end of the previous lesson. Right now I am just translating. So, laughter did not leave her lips. Fresh, like as fresh as the morning rose, which has managed just now to open with the first ray of the sun its red, fragrant bud, on which haven't dried cold, big drops of dewdrops. So I know it's not in English, but as I said, I keep, sometimes it's better for me to translate in improper English so that you can get the Russian structure. But again, if you want to hear, to learn how it's built, just watch the previous lesson. And now we will continue. Помню. So just remember, the narrator is an 11-year-old boy, so he's saying that. Помню, что на второй день моего приезда был устроен домашний театр. So instead of saying я помню, I remember, he's just saying remember, but he means I remember. На второй день, on the second day. Now he's saying моего приезда. Приезда coming from приезд, which is coming. But he means on the second day after my coming. But in Russian you can skip the word after. На второй день моего приезда был устроен. Был устроен is passive of устроить, and one of the meanings of it is organize. So был устроен was organized. Домашний театр, we already had it, means home theater. So, помню, что на второй день моего приезда был устроен домашний театр. Remember, meaning I remember, that on the second day after my coming, was like there was organized a home theater. And he's saying, зала была, как говорится, набита битком. Не было ни одного места свободного. А так как мне привелось почему-то опоздать, то я и принужден был наслаждаться спектаклем стоя. Окей. Зала была, как говорится, набита битком. Let's see what it means. So, zala is a guest room. Zala, guest room. Как говорится, so to say. Nabita bitkom is an expression, and it means full of people. So, зала была, как говорится, набита битком. The guest room was, so to say, full of people. Не было ни одного места свободного. Okay, you probably got it. So, there was no empty places. А так как мне привелось почему-то опоздать, okay, так как means because. Мне привелось, I happened. Like, I happened to do something. That's мне привелось. So please underline. I hope you have your printed copy. Yeah? So мне привелось, please underline it. And then write above that, I happened to. Почему-то means somehow. И опоздать, be late. So he's saying, а так как мне привелось почему-то опоздать, and because I happened to somehow be late, то я и принужден был наслаждаться спектаклем стоя. Принужден, принужден был, had to. Please underline it. Принужден был, had to. Наслаждаться, to enjoy. Спектаклем, okay, play. Стоя, while standing. Yeah, it's an adverb. So, стоя, while standing. So he's saying because so I had to enjoy the play standing, while standing. Now, just follow me. Be focused, please. And let's go over the whole sentence again. Зала была, как говорится, набита битком. So the guest room was, so to say, full of people. Не было ни одного места свободного. There was no, even not one place empty. А так как мне привелось почему-то опоздать, but because I happened to somehow be late, то я и принужден был наслаждаться спектаклем стоя. Because of that, or so, I had to enjoy the show, or the play, standing. We move on. Но веселая игра все более и более тянула меня вперед, и я незаметно пробрался до самых первых рядов, где и стал, наконец, облокотясь на спинку кресел, в которых сидела одна дама. So basically, guys, he's taking us back now, and he's telling us how he got to know, or how it happened that he saw that blonde lady. So he's saying, но веселая игра все более и более тянула меня. So игра in this case, it's like play on stage, yeah, because игра might also mean like performing on stage. So therefore I will translate веселая игра like joyful or happy performance, or funny performance, you could also say. Все более и более. Все более и более means more and more. It might be without все or with все, the same meaning. Все более и более, more and more, тянуло меня вперед. Тянуло comes from тянуть, which means to pull. And вперед means forward. Я незаметно пробрался. So пробрался means I sneaked, but in this case he didn't really sneak. He just moved. So пробрался in this case would be moved, but in other contexts it might be sneaked somewhere. Незаметно means unseen by others. Yeah, незаметно. Because заметить means to notice. So незаметно means in an unnoticeable way. До самых первых рядов. So до means up to. Самых первых, the very first. In рядов comes from ряд, which is a row. In a theater in this case. So that's ряд. Ряд, row of something. So he, in an unseen for others way, he sneaked or he moved up to the very first rows. And don't worry if you don't get it now, because we are going to reread it again. Где и стал, наконец, облокотясь на спинку кресел. Where, so где means where, и стал, наконец. So стал means stood, basically. И is just a connecting word. So где и стал. So where, so basically E doesn't have lots of meaning here. You can just skip it in your translation. Стал, I stood. Again, he's talking about himself, but he's not saying I. Наконец, finally. Облокотясь, leaning, облокотясь на, basically, you need to underline. And right above, leaning on. Спинку кресел. So кресел comes from кресло, which is armchair. And спинку comes from спинка, which is back, like back of armchairs. В которых сидела одна дама, in which, so в которых means in which, and it relates to armchairs. Just notice that it's armchairs, that's plural here, because кресел, that's plural. In which sat one lady, was sitting one lady. Okay, now let's go over the whole sentence. Но веселая игра все более и более тянула меня вперед. But the funny performance more and more pulled me forward. Я незаметно пробрался до самых первых рядов. And I unnoticeably moved up to the very first rows. Где и стал, наконец, where I stood finally, облокотясь на спинку кресел, leaning on the back of the armchairs, в которых сидела одна дама, in which one lady was sitting. Like literally, in which was sitting one lady. So again, he's taking us back. How he got to know this blonde girl. So he's coming to those first rows, and he sees that lady. And then he continues. That was my blonde, but we hadn't been acquainted yet. And then he goes on. И вот, как-то невзначай засмотрелся я на ее чудно округленные соблазнительные плечи. Полные, белые, как молочный кипень. Хотя мне решительно все равно было смотреть на чудесные женские плечи или на чепец с огненными лентами, скрывавший седины одной почтенной дамы в первом ряду. That's an interesting sentence. Now, you need to be very patient, because we're going first to go over the vocabulary, and then we're going to read it, all of it. И вот, and so. Как-то невзначай. So, невзначай means like by mistake. By mistake or without wanting to. Like unwantingly. I don't know if there is such word in English, but probably you do have it. So, without wanting to, невзначай. Засмотрелся я. So, засмотрелся, it means I couldn't stop looking. That's засмотрелся. And here, he's talking about himself. Засмотрелся я. So, I couldn't stop looking at. Засмотрелся я на. So, at means на. На means at in this case. Ее чудно округленные соблазнительные плечи. So, the main word here, the noun, is плечи, shoulders. Чудно округленные. So, округленные means round. And чудно comes from чудо, which is miracle. But, therefore, чудно округленные would be miraculously round. So, please underline it and write it above the word. Miraculously round. Соблазнительные comes from соблазнять, and which means to tempt. So, соблазнительные means tempting. So, he's saying, засмотрелся я на ее чудно округленные соблазнительные плечи. I couldn't stop looking at her miraculously round, tempting shoulders. Полная. Now, guys, who remembers what was полный depicting a person? Do you remember? It means chubby. It doesn't mean full, because полный might also mean full, but it means chubby. Белые, как молочный кипень. Now, молочный кипень, молочный obviously comes from молоко, which is milk. Кипень, it's a foam. It's a foam when the milk is boiling. But it's an obsolete word, like you almost don't hear that. Like, in my opinion, that's obsolete. I haven't encountered that a lot. So, молочный кипень. Yeah? So he's comparing her shoulders. He's saying that they are chubby, white, as the milk foam. And кипень, by the way, comes from кипеть, which means to boil. Yeah? Хотя мне решительно. So, решительно, in this case, would be absolutely. In other cases, if someone did something решительно, it means in a determined way. Yeah? But in this case, it means absolutely. Therefore, when he is saying хотя means but. Хотя. But, хотя мне решительно все равно было смотреть. But, to me, absolutely, все равно means indifferently. Indifferently. That's все равно. For example, мне все равно, it comes together. Мне все равно. It means I don't care. Like I'm indifferent towards the result. Было смотреть. Смотреть means to see. So what he means here, look. Хотя мне решительно все равно было смотреть. So he's saying, but to me, it wasn't important. Like I didn't care what to look at. That is the meaning of this whole part. I didn't care, like it wasn't important for me. It was all the same to me. Yeah, все равно basically means all the same to me what to look at. But if we translate it directly, we say, but to me, absolutely all the same was to look. Okay? And then he's giving two things and basically two opposite things, basically. And he's saying that I didn't care what to look at. На чудесные женские плечи. So what to look at? So I didn't care. So whether I look at the чудесные, like miraculous or wonderful, woman's shoulders. Или на чепец с огненными лентами. So, чепец means, it's a kind of a cap. In English it's called coif. C-O-I-F. Kind of a close-fitting cap. Now, чепец с огненными лентами. So lentami comes from lente, which means ribbon, like ribbons, lentami. Now ognenami comes from agon, which is fire. But Dostoevsky is saying s ognenami lentami, so with fire like ribbons. I don't know what he said, probably they had bright colors, yeah, those ribbons. Or red color. So, therefore, чепец с огненными лентами would be a coif with fire-like ribbons. Скрывавший седины. So, скрывавший, that was hiding. Yeah, that was hiding, because скрывать means to hide. And here, скрывавший relates to чепец, to the coif. So, this coif was hiding седины. Седины means white hair. Одной почтенной дамы. Почтенной means respected. So, the седины одной почтенной дамы в первом ряду would be white hair of one respected lady in the first row. Yeah, because ряд, just reminding you, that's row. Now, if you didn't get anything, or if you lost the train of thought, don't worry about that at all. Just smile, because we are going to repeat it now. So he is saying, и вот, как-то невзначай, засмотрелся я на ее чудно округленные соблазнительные плечи. And so, somehow without wanting to, I couldn't stop looking at her miraculously round, tempting shoulders. Полные, белые, как молочный кипень. Full, white, as boiling milk foam. Хотя мне решительно все равно было смотреть. But even though, so хотя basically means even though. Sorry, I gave you some other translation. Even though, to me, it was absolutely all the same to look на чудесные женские плечи или на чепец с огненными лентами. To look at the miraculous woman's shoulders, or at a coif with fire-like ribbons, скрывавший седины, that was hiding the white hair одной почтенной дамы of one respected lady в первом ряду, in the first row. So, if you still have difficulty understanding, just rewind it back to the beginning of the sentence and listen to it again and again and again until you get it. But for that, you will benefit greatly if you have it printed. So that's what I recommend. And now, guys, I am just going to repeat, just going to read without translation all this part that we have learned so far today. And you're going to surprise yourself big time with your understanding. It might not be perfect, but it's gonna be relatively good. So, just listen to me. We are starting with помню. Помню, что на второй день моего приезда был устроен домашний театр. Зала была, как говорится, набита битком. Не было ни одного места свободного. А так как мне привелось почему-то опоздать, то я и принужден был наслаждаться спектаклем стоя. Но веселая игра все более и более тянула меня вперед, и я незаметно пробрался до самых первых рядов, где и стал, наконец, облокотясь на спинку кресел, в которых сидела одна дама. Это была моя блондинка, но мы еще знакомы не были. И вот как-то невзначай засмотрелся я на ее чудно округленные соблазнительные плечи. Полные, белые, как молочный кипень, хотя мне решительно все равно было смотреть. на чудесные женские плечи или на чепец с огненными лентами, скрывавший седины одной почтенной дамы в первом ряду. Okay, guys, so here we're going to finish for today. If you need private Russian lessons, very, very effective, using certain strategies that are relatively unknown, if you need to advance your Russian, specifically your Russian speaking, but not only, you can contact me by email below this video, and I'll explain you, I'll write you back, and I'll explain how it works. Yeah? But meanwhile, I wish you good mood, lots of health, happiness, and we'll see each other at the next lesson. Ciao, ciao.